Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Draglist Live, where we get to bench race with the world's top drag racers. Tonight, we're going to talk to Dave Weslowski, one of the top historians in the sport. We'll talk about his gathering a bunch of great drag racing videos and his experiences at the tracks, and also a little bit of racing history. Before we bring Dave in, let's go to John. John, how are you doing?
Doing great here, BP, and howdy from Houston, everybody. Please join us on the live chat. The chat board is on the right side of your YouTube window. I'll take notes and I'll pass your questions and comments along to BP and Dave.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And folks, click the like and click the share button. Let your friends know we're out here with Dave Weslowski live and in person. And we'll add a little later on, we'll ask you to subscribe to the channel. But for right now, let's prove we got him. Dave, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me on. It's great to be here and looking forward to chat with you guys tonight. I always love talking about drag racing, whether it's on the professional level or stuff that I've done personally. So it's really cool and glad to be part of the show.
Sounds great. We'll cover it all then. Let's just do that. Well, tell us. I know that you've been a long time kind of drag racing historian. I see you on the interwebs all the time, been following along with you for many years. But I think one of your core kind of contributions to the sport is a collection of drag racing videos. Is that right?
Yeah, I really, in all honesty, started with my YouTube channel, Dave W on YouTube. Started uploading drag racing, NASCAR, IndyCar footage, but a lot of the drag racing stuff really wasn't out there. And I mean, I've amassed a large video collection. Most of it I've recorded myself over the years, starting in the mid 90s. Some of the stuff from the 80s I've acquired from other sources, but basically starting to post and upload stuff to YouTube is really where most of the notoriety came from, and a lot of people would contact me, and even got the attention of NHRA at one point, because when they decided to go to NHRA All Access and decided they were going to upload some of their classic video library themselves, they kind of reached out and were sending copyright strikes to videos here and there. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, if it's something that you guys are going to do, I don't want to lose my channel, so please let me know, and I will delete the archive. And I don't want to be stepping on anybody's toes. I understand that you guys own it, but they've since gotten lax on that throughout the years. And I've never reposted the entire stuff, but I know there are other people that have started posting back on there, and I'll probably get back into that and start posting the old NHRA Today library of videos. I've got all those episodes to share, and different classic footage that most people don't really get to see and doesn't really get to see the light of day. So I've
Right.
always appreciated sharing that stuff.
Well, that's fantastic because you see this stuff pop up now and then, but it's just you just don't have time to sit and watch it all. But I love doing every now and then if I get some extra time, I'll sit down and watch like an entire race, and I'm writing stuff down, writing down ETs and stuff for the drag list because well, the NHRA stuff we've got pretty well covered. Let me put it this way: I've got the data. I don't have it all into the lists, right? But the IHRA stuff, with our great friend Brett Kepner, who did the vast majority of those shows with Ted Jones and others,
Yeah.
I don't have all that stuff in there. The AHRA stuff is a complete mystery. Do you have any of those sorts of races as well, or is it pretty much exclusively NHRA?
The AHRA stuff, I don't really have any of that. I'm always on the hunt or on the search for stuff just the same, trying to find. Obviously, one of the best sources for it that I've been able to find so far is obviously going on Draglist and reading the driver notes and racer notes. But some I've been able to find in some of the older books that I've got and acquired off of eBay. The IHRA stuff, I've acquired a lot of drag reviews. We were IHRA members when my father raced in the mid to early 90s. So I've
Mhm.
got a lot of drag reviews from that time. I didn't record it as much, but I did upload a lot of mid to early 90s IHRA stuff on YouTube as well,
Sure.
because to me, those shows, even though they were 45-minute shows, basically after you take out the commercials and everything, for the classes that they covered and the kind of in-your-face action, and like you said, you had Bob Barsha, Brett Kepner, Ted Jones putting those shows together. They were, for me anyway, on par with what NHRA was putting out at the time, and almost just as much of an entertaining, if not more entertaining show to watch. So as a kid, I definitely recorded and enjoyed a lot of the IHRA stuff. The early stuff is harder to find, but
Right.
from the 90s and the early 2000s I did. And then of course it went to split coverage with TNN and Speed Vision, and I did not get Speed Vision at the time. So unfortunately, a lot of those shows to me are lost, but I did see that there's a new Speed TV that has been recreated on YouTube itself. And somebody had posted that they acquired the entire IHRA Speed library from Florida and was supposed to be in the process of reposting those. So hopefully those will see the light of day one of these years.
Yeah, I hope so. Wow, that's fascinating stuff. And well, first thing that pops in my head is we have to start supporting now that we're up here and trying to build this YouTube thing. I've got tons and tons and tons of our shows. Also, I need to talk to my good friend Jeff Gilder about this, but I've got a lot of his NASCAR shows. I've got Wally Bell's shows. I've got stuff in my possession now, which I didn't realize until I was cleaning off the Mac to the ship to John, and I'm like, oh, it's sort of I've been in the PC guide using a map for years, and I'm like, oh my god, this treasure trove was on here, and I just didn't realize it was there. I'd forgotten about it. So I would love to. I don't know if John,
I can't wait for that. It'll be a great day when it gets here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And but yeah, the thing is getting
right now, you see,
go ahead, John.
The YouTube window and the chat board hasn't showed up yet. I've got the YouTube program on right now, but the chat board hasn't showed up yet. So I'll let you know when it gets here.
Okay. Well, folks, if you're hearing us, I don't know,
okay.
Gosh, have to go do some fixing of the YouTube channel. That's weird. Oh well. Well, we'll get there. What do you got, John?
Technology.
Sorry, Jay, you're breaking up, or you're freezing up a little bit, I guess. Okay. Well, let's keep on moving. And holler at us, John. Give us the thumb up, not when you get the chat up, and we'll chat with those guys. Well, Dave, as you go back and look at those events, and I mean, I guess you pull them out every now and then and take a look at them. What are some of the highlights that you've seen captured on video? What are some of your favorite memories from either recording those things or watching them, or both?
I'd probably go back to the early to mid 90s is probably my favorite era just to rewatch because that's what I grew up with. I started watching really because when my dad was an NHRA member at the time, to have their competition license, you would get as part of your membership package one of the year in review videos or a t-shirt, and they would get the year in review videos for 90, 91, and I just used to wear them out as a kid. Couldn't wait to renew the membership to get the next year in review video started. So in 92 is when I really started watching and recording stuff. And I was just 9 years old, and I'm programming the VCR to record races that are on, airing in the middle of the night because IHRA used to be on at ridiculous hours. And I really loved looking back at that particular time frame. Pro stock was always my favorite class. I loved watching the Johnsons versus the Dodges when Alderman and Jeffrey were out there versus Warren and Kurt breaking the 6-second barrier. Loved watching the IHRA shows. The IHRA Pro Stock stuff was great to me as well. Really, that's kind of my favorite era. And it's amazing now. I think the fun thing for me with Facebook and the internet and the way that technology and sharing has come across and changed the world, basically, I can take these videos that I recorded then, upload them to Facebook, and the people that were in them that really maybe have no other way of seeing them or haven't seen them in 30 plus years have a way to share them and relive them themselves. So to me, that's why I bring a lot of that stuff back, because the people that are involved in them end up commenting or seeing them on Facebook, and you're able to actually connect with and talk to these people. And I think that that's something that nobody could ever imagined would have happened as this was happening 30 years ago.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the most fun things that we do. I mean, our tagline is turning heroes into pals,
Right.
it was just wonderful to be a young drag fan, but from my era, a little earlier than you. I imagine 72 when I got kicking off, but I was wearing the Bruce Larson's t-shirts and stuff back then, building the models, and then to get
Right.
to know him and become pretty good pals over the years. That's so precious, right? And same thing with those, the other guys, and they're on here like every day. They're, it's you don't realize, when you're a kid, you feel like everybody's so much older than you, but and many of them are, right? But I mean, now there's folks that I followed closely then, and I'm no spring chicken now, and it's really, really great. So I'm glad to hear that. It's important to them, and then their grandkids and their kids and grandkids who may not know a lot about they may have heard about what they did. I
Right.
I love that they come up on the Facebook pages all the time to see photos and stuff of their granddads and grandmothers, and you're doing it for them there with videos. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have posted specifically on the sportsman side of things. The recaps that they used to do on NHRA Today for the sportsman shows, whether it was the Who's Hot segment or just the national event recaps that Bob Fry would do, stuff from the mid 90s where they did a whole feature at Brainerd on the Line family, Jason Line and the whole team that was racing, and to be able to put that out there on Facebook 30 plus years later and have them see it and go, wow, now the younger generation are looking back going, look at what they look, what you looked like when they were our age out there racing doing this. That or drivers who earned their first wins that most people hadn't seen, and now their kids are out there racing going, oh, I've heard about it, but I've never actually got to see video footage of it. So I really think that that's the main reason why I like posting little clips and sharing them to Facebook and pulling out stuff like that is because if the people who are involved in them can see them, for example, Doug Gordon, I found a video from the Winter Nationals when he won the race, and he commented on it. We had posted in the Top Alcohol Funny Car group. He
Uh-huh.
commented on it and said, "That's the weekend that I took my now wife to the racetrack for the first time." And so he
Wow.
gets to share that with on his page. He gets to relive it. Maybe they have a video of it, maybe they don't, but can relive it, share it with Maddie and Macy, and they're out. Now Maddie's out there driving the car, racing, and
Right.
passed on to another generation, but still reliving what happened before. And it's a shame that most of the sportsman stuff is what really got lost to time, because those are the
Yeah,
real, obviously, backbone and genuine heroes of the sport that kept it going. So to be able to know at one point in time they were on TV is pretty cool.
absolutely. Well, let's jump in, chat with John for a moment. John, have you got to be out there to join you in the chat line?
Yes. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah.
American Hot Rod Entertainment says, my boy. And we have a poster named NY32986. And I don't know his username, but that's what he's posting with. He says, hey guys, and hey Dave. Kay
Yeah.
Thurkelson is with us from Salt Lake City. She says, good evening, gents. Jack
Hey.
Red is with us, and he says, hello, straight liners. And our NY3 friend says, Dave is great with his videos and his info. Great helping out with the drag list entries as well. Pete Mariello in Los Angeles says, good evening, everybody. Steve Clementi is with us tonight, and he says hello.
Hey,
And
Steve.
our NY3 friend says, I'm trying to get what I can for IHRA, just need the money to buy the drag views on eBay.
Got
And
it.
he also said he started watching those in 1992, and we're
Is
caught
that,
up for the moment.
thank you. Is that my friend Rob McCabe who does all the
Yeah,
drag list entries? I'll bet that's Rob.
that's Rob.
And I have to tell, to my discredit, and I was looking for him tonight because I was looking for this iMac box to send that, but I'm gonna have to pack it up otherwise. But I'm pretty confident my friend Kurt Swartz sent me a ton of drag reviews. And because I haven't opened the boxes yet, to be honest with you. And so I had to, that's the thing. We need to get that stuff needs to get digitized and into use. But great to hear from everybody. And it's great to have Steve on because Steve Clementi, I had the pleasure of having him visit one time here at my house. And he was doing that. Steve was like, he's a machine, man. He gets stuff done, and his stats are fantastic. And of course, we have them throughout the drag lists, that his gathered stats. But he also does a bunch of great videos, and he also takes all the national dragsters and records them all. So I mean, he's just into it. So Steve, it's great to have you on. And I think it's
Yeah,
Rob.
I've met Steve too. He actually has helped me with some of the research on the early 80s, 81 to 83 era from his collection because he's scanning a bunch of national dragsters. And I actually met up with him a couple times. He borrowed some issues that I had from the 70s that he didn't, so that he could scan them and have for his collection. But yeah, definitely another historian of the sport and somebody that's always gathering data. So it was really nice to meet him and glad to see that he's tuned in tonight. Hi, Steve. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got well, I had a bunch of stuff back in the late 70s, and then mid to late 70s, and then that somehow got donated to the library when I was in the Navy, by my mom at the time. Well, my only mom, but bless her heart, she donated those. So some kids in northeastern Ohio were digging those, or did at the time. But I do have national dragsters from 87 on. And one of these days, I got to do so. I got to I got to put them in somebody's hands who are actually going to do something with them, because I used to just, you guys know it, right? You're in this crowd, you, Steve, Kepner, Dennis Doubleday, Rob McKay, and I, just getting into them, and page by page, even going to like the for sale stuff and seeing what you could eke out of those things.
Right.
It's all, it's a sickness, guys, but it's been a fun sickness. Um, well, what do you got a lot of videos collected. Sort of, what's the plan for the future? What do you plan to do with those things? Do you have something in mind, or I mean, obviously YouTube, which is great.
Nothing really specific, I guess, just finalizing getting everything digitized, make a nice digital archive of having it all. Some of the stuff is not able to be posted to YouTube because of copyright coverage, and it's just from the music that's in it and from others that
Right.
have claimed copyright on it. But uh, if I ever sat down and really went through some of the stuff, it would be kind of interesting to make video shorts or little video clips of things, or put highlight packages together of certain things that have happened throughout history. But the plan right now, I guess, is just to keep plugging away with digitizing the stuff. As unfortunately, it just records at a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you've got 30 years worth of stuff, it's going to take you about that time to record all of it
Yeah.
for however long it is aired. So you figure 6 to 8 hours per VHS tape times 500 VHS tapes. It's a lot of hours to do it, and then editing it and everything after the fact. So it's been a labor of love for sure, but something that keeps me occupied and helps me with compiling my statistics and spreadsheets and results. Just like you said, going back and watching some of the races on YouTube helps you with filling out ETs and speeds and
Right.
cataloging the stuff.
That's fantastic. Well, and this house is I mean, and look where John's sitting too. John's very similar. I mean, there's just so many things packed up, stacked up, that I've got VHSs forever. I'll never see them all again,
Right.
and CDs and DVDs, and we gotta, and I at one time imagined I would do a bunch of those. I even did 8, way back in the early, I don't know when it was, the 80s, the 90s, maybe the 90s. We did this thing called RR Video. My buddy Ray English, who's long gone, but he and I did. He had a bunch of 8mm stuff that we would take, and I would sit with a bunch of old cronies here in his basement, and they would tell me who was what, and I was writing, and then we go into a little studio with a guy had down here in my town, and actually, I would do the voice overlays over top of these things,
Mhm.
and they were okay. I mean, there was nothing else out there at the time. This was like some of the earliest stuff, and Dragster covered it and stuff. But I was like a hack. I was an announcer right at Bud's Creek, but still, you know. And one of the things, to your point with the music, that we weren't clever enough to think about at the time is we did it all same track, right? So Ray had a handshake agreement with one of the local bands. It was actually, some of their members went on to become quite famous, but they're playing like this 50s kind of music in the background, which by the way, they were a cover band mostly. So they were playing stuff that was owned by, ASCAP and everything. And then I'm talking on the very same track, right? And so there's no way to, I mean, maybe with AI now there's a way to separate it. I don't know. I doubt it. But, like all what I'm going to do one of these days is get those 8 tapes or a DVD them and get them up and put them right here on this site so that people can at least, I guess, well, we don't really have ads on this site, but, we're not like, I'm not going to make $1 million on. We actually sold a bunch of those things, back when people bought VHSs,
Right.
but that was Ray selling them. But that's a challenge, right? And I think to your point too, a lot of the, Dave and I were chatting a little bit before the show, folks, that I do think I'm going to be looking at some AI based tools to try to take some of these shows and do those clips, those kind of TikTok kind of clips or Facebook reels, you may call them, those cool little, 2-3 minute deals that, pull some aspect of the show out. And there's no way I have time to do those manually, but I understand that there are tools that make it work pretty good. So I'll be trying some of those. And it's supposed to help make the video look better and things like that. So I think AI is coming to help with some of that. You can't generate the content, but I think there's ways to doing it. I mean, it's going to be a new world here pretty soon, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than when I was recording this stuff 30 plus years ago and saving VHS collections. You didn't know that DVDs would exist.
Right.
And then you didn't know that YouTube would come around and you'd have a way of streaming things. So who knows what the next 10 or 15 years, like you say, with AI and the technology to be able to fix the audio on them, the scratchy old VHS audio that you just can't get out because of the magnetic media that it is on. I mean,
Right.
the tapes deteriorate over time. You lose, I think it was 5 or 7% of the VHS quality every year or so. So the longer they keep sitting, the worse they're going to keep degrading. So hopefully the technology will be out there to really kind of restore them and bring them back to the best looking that they can be.
Right. Absolutely. I totally, I know it's going to happen. I work in IT during the day, and it's amazing things I'm seeing every day. So I just need to get someone to help me can do it on drag race. Well, let's chat about a little bit about your actual racing. So you got the big bad red machine behind us. Looks like it's down at Ennis. What was that all about?
Well,
Or
that
did
was the car itself. That picture is edited to be in front of the Texas Motorplex. That was actually at Indianapolis Raceway Park. It had the Welcome to Brownsburg in the background. We were under the I believe that's the Chevrolet Performance Bridge at the time. It's been renamed so many times when we were there for the NDRL race that ran after the U.S. Nationals. But yeah, spent a lot of time racing with my dad. He raced way back in the 1960s at US 30 drag strip, was an AHRA class record holder, had multiple cars throughout the years with the Ragamuffin family racing name on them. Had a couple of different partners that he raced with, and he's really the one that really got me into it. And he had always decided that he wanted to have a 9-second full 9 powered race car. And so that was his dream, and that was the car that he built and raced it for, I believe, 3 or 4 years before he turned over the driving duties to me. And it's been something that we were able to do for about 5 or 6 years, just kind of touring around the Midwest, racing with the car. Ran NHRA Super Gas with it, won a round, probably the last round that a 409 powered car won in Super Gas a couple years ago at a divisional at Joliet.
first ever, maybe?
No, there was I was part of my research going through stuff. There was Gary Harmon. He had a 63 Chevy that was kind of a fiberglass built car with a 409 in it. And he went rounds at Columbus back in 1994. So I'm like, well, I at least got that as one to go off of. But I don't think in modern times too many people decide to take a 409 out there and race it. But it's a fun car to drive. It's got a clutch and a 5-speed in it. So no electronics. It's all what it is. Definitely sticks out like a sore thumb in the super gas category, but you just got to go out there and run the number no matter how you get out there and do it. So it was fun to race that. We've raced with Nostalgia Superstock. raced at bracket events, raced at Super Chevy Series, raced with the NDRL, raced at the 348 409 Nationals, which is part of Rock and Race, annually held at Dragway 42 in the summertime. And it was just fun to go out there and be competitive, run the car, drive the car. I've always enjoyed the challenge of tuning the car. I've always enjoyed the challenge of the suspension setup, the ins and outs of track conditions and what best to launch at, to shift at, where to dial in at, if you're running on an index race or a bracket race. So I really love all the aspects of the sport, from the history of it to the cars that are involved in it, the people involved in it, to actually getting in one and doing it myself. So it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it.
It's legit. Brit, you're legit, man. And I was talking about AI a moment ago, but I wasn't thinking about Photoshop with our
Yes,
resident Photoshop wizard, John, putting your car wherever he wants to put it.
that's correct.
Speaking of John, let's chat and see who else is out there with something to say. John, anybody else on the chat with a thought?
It's real busy here tonight, y'all. Bill Masiello is here. He's our racer of the week. And Rick Osborne says he finally found us. So he's with us tonight. And our NY3 friend says, yeah, the sportsman stuff is tough to get. This is part of an ongoing conversation that's on the chat board right now. And he said, I was working and I had the gym today. Yes, absolutely, Bill. We can move ahead on the drag reviews. And Steve
Okay.
Clemente says, I have some IHRA races that I posted on YouTube and NHRA, and I'm posting both bodies as I watch them. I'm on 1987 right now. And he
Awesome.
came back and said, the race videos on YouTube have copyright restrictions because of the music, and you can monetize it, but they can be viewed. And our NY3 friend says, Steve is great as well. He's helped me with a lot of the 1985 stuff that I don't have or are incomplete. And he said the 85 to present stuff is my forte. He said, I have a bunch of 85, 86, and 87 national dragsters. I want to get back to my 85 recaps and my comp recaps after I complete the 2024 and 23 stuff. I'm just starting 2024 NHRA Pro Mod recaps. And Rick Osborne came in and he said, it would be great if someone that really loves the sport of drag racing from the golden age of drag racing, because Jim Amos called to let
Mhm.
us know that he is no longer making his Be On videos.
Oh man, I knew he
And
can't
that's all
go
I have for the
forever, but
moment.
those are Jim Amos is a great guy and a really good friend of Draglist. We sold his videos for a lot of years, and the Jackson brothers too. We still have them both listed on the Draglist page, but it's so we just trickle stuff out these days. It's it's a no, it's no one buys DVDs anymore. They stream. So but
Oh, yeah.
thank you. And that is Rob McCabe, by the way, John, who's out there doing some hard work for us and appreciate it. John, what else you got?
Well, I have a question for Dave. I made your graphic for tonight, and I'd like to know the story on the Ragamuffin, that 63 Chevy Bel Air.
Oh,
Well,
awesome. We were just chatting about it a bit, Jack.
yeah,
Well, you
it's
see,
not.
yeah, I don't get to hear everything, but y'all go ahead, man.
No,
It,
I'll
thanks,
catch it up
John.
later.
Well, give us a little bit more about because it is a beautiful card. It's just
it's not the original one. So my dad campaigned one back in the 60s, a 63 Chevy Impala, that had the name Ragamuffin on it. Then he had switched to a 70 Camaro. Then he raced at US 30. And then when US 30 closed in 84, he and his partner, they had acquired an 81 Camaro, that they raced also with the Ragamuffin name, mostly at Osceola Dragway. If you remember that drag strip, which is unfortunately also now closed.
right.
And after that, we progressed over to an 86 Camaro that we campaigned very, very sparingly. That kind of, the 81 Camaro was more of a super gas style car. And then it ran 990s. And then the 86 Camaro was more of a super comp car, running 890s, and pretty much dissolved, running that car basically in the early 2000s, when my dad decided that he wanted to proceed on building this particular car here because of his goal with a 9-second 409 car. So it started life as a street car, just a regular 409 street car, and went through the restoration process and got halfway through and decided, you know what, I'm going to make a race car out of the deal, and went through, had a chassis put in, the floorboard, basically built to nostalgia superstock rules, what you were allowed to remove and for weight savings, and what you could and what you couldn't. So there's a fiberglass hood on it, a fiberglass deck lid and bumpers, but otherwise it's all steel. Still has the full interior in it. We did change out the bench seat when we went to the 5-speed from the 4-speed to have clearance for the shifter. So it went to racing buckets, but still covered in the OEM fabric on the buckets. They're kind of custom made to cover the Kirky seats. So when you look in it, it still just looks like a factory car.
Wow.
Keep it as factory looking, appearing, and functioning as possible. And it was a long labor of love, and we've enjoyed going out there. We've had great success with it. We've had some parts breakage, been a little hard on parts with the transmission, trying to get a 3,600-pound car to launch off the line. But that thing, the best 60 foot I've had with it, it was a 133 60-foot time. So that's pretty good for a car of that size. And
Yep.
best ET to date is a 978 at 136 miles an hour. So
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's
I
awesome.
can,
it's a fun car to go out there and drop the clutch and go through the shifter, kind of like driving a pro stock car, because that's with my budget is probably as close as I'll ever get to being able to drive one. So it's a lot of fun.
John, you had a thought, sir? Oh, I guess not. So yeah, it's very cool. 64, it looks like.
63 Chevy Bel
63.
Air. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
62. Yeah.
So yeah, John, did you have a thought? Another question?
Well, it's just it's a beautiful hot rod, and I've been intrigued by it ever since I saw it. And I thought that would be the car to use on your graphic, and I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you.
Not to
Yes,
which
it
I
was
thought
a
we were
very
at
cool
Ennis. I'm
graphic.
like,
Yeah.
when did you ever get down to Ennis? That's what I wondered. And there's a flopper in the background. It appears to be Gary Dencham, or I can't. It's kind of far back there, but
I
looks
was
like you.
down. I did get to go to Ennis. I'd never been there before, but got to spectate this last fall at the Fall Nationals.
Oh,
I was
nice.
able to go down there and experience the racetrack for the first time, and what a really cool place it is.
Yeah, I've never been. I've been to some of the other places around Dallas, but not to the big one. We'll get there one of these days. What are some of the your best finishes with the car, or your most proud moments at the track? I don't know if would you ever get a chance to rack up a win or two here or there?
Never actually won. We got to the finals at the 409 Nationals one year, and it's really cool. There's a racer that comes and runs with the group, Dave Mills. He's also from the Southeast Michigan area. He had won a Wally in class eliminator, and so basically what the trophy is, if you win the 409 Nationals, he brought it and donated it, and whoever wins the race gets to kind of carry it around for the year or so until
Oh,
the
nice.
next year's event. And so we were running for the trophy, and unfortunately, I broke out by 2 thousandths of a second, and I lost that final round. That was close as I ever came to that. We ran a bracket race there the one of the following years, because they have different events on each day. And on Friday night, they basically put you out there. You run first round and you run second round, and then they have such a delay that by the time they get to the third round, they're kind of like, all right, everybody's on round robin. If you win, you just keep coming back. So
Yeah,
we went out there, and I've got all the time slips and everything. I laid them out together, made it all the way to the finals, made 5 passes within 1 hour and 5 minutes of time, all between 989 and a 985.
wow.
2 987s, a 989, and a 985 in the final, which was a breakout, and of course lost the final round again. But everybody's like, well, you can't be consistent with a stick car, and it's like, well, here's 5, just 5 runs within 1 hour's time frame, within a couple
Yeah,
hundredths of a second. So I think that's probably those two are probably my most enjoyable and proudest moments with the car running it, to be able to go out there and repeat and run back to back and have to get right back in line and just keep going rounds. Was
right.
probably the best memory that I've got so far, but hopefully there's still more to come. Maybe the best just hasn't been written yet. So
That's right. Yeah, we'll have to. Well, this is a precursor.
right.
So, very cool. Do you have any video of the car? Anybody take shots of it as you've raced?
There is some video. Most of what I post is just from I've got an in-car camera that I post over my shoulder over the passenger seat. I post those on Facebook, but that's about it. There aren't too many shots that I have from outside of it, just stuff that you happen to find for people that were at the track and recording it at the time. But I understand now why racers like to see pictures and videos of their cars, because when you're there doing it, you never get to see it from the outside, and
Right.
it's always cool to see.
Right. Who are some of the folks you like to race the most? Do you have any people you like to beat, especially, or that you really enjoy racing with?
Not specifically, really that I like to beat. I mean, you just like to beat whoever's in the next lane. Doesn't matter who they are, if they're the best friend or the guy that you dislike the most. You just want to turn on the win light. So mostly I'm in competition with myself when I go up there. I'm just trying to race the tree and race the finish line. And if I do my job, the win light should come on. But I really enjoy going out with the Nostalgia Superstock group. It's just it's a booked in match race deal that runs in the Midwest. A lot of cars of that particular era, great guys that have been out there doing it for decades, and it's a really nice laid back group. The 348 409 group of racers, when we get together at Rock and Race, are another really great group of racers. They have a big barbecue and food for dinner set up on Saturday evening before the event, and people come from all around, and it's really nice. I think that the most fun thing for me is getting to see all these people who you talk to on the internet, you talk to on Facebook, you see pictures of their car, and then when you go to these big meets, it's kind of like almost a throwback to, I'm sure, how the Nationals used to be back in the 50s and 60s, where you'd hear about this guy's running in Washington, this guy's running in Florida, this guy's in New York, and they all come together onto one big meet, and you all get to go together and really see how who's got the best of the best. So
Right.
it's really fun. I enjoy that part of it. I really enjoy getting to talk to the people, and I think the people are really what make the sport go. And there's a lot of great people that are out there doing it.
Absolutely. So cool. Well, what do you like to do away from the track? Do you have any hobbies or other things you like to do?
Not specifically. Most of it's all around cars and racing. Uh, you know, uh, in my free time, I like to go back and just sit down and research. Sometimes you get lost in some of these old books and magazines. Cataloging. I've been researching and logging spreadsheets on each of the classes on the NHRA and IHRA side, on the professional side, that I can find. I've recently, just within the last year, a friend of mine, I had pitched the idea to, that I'd always wanted a racing reference type site for drag racing, kind of like what they do for NASCAR and IndyCar, where you could search similar to your database on Draglist, but a little more specifically, where everything comes up kind of all in one, specific event results that are on individual pages. So I I had a friend, Jeanette Dejanay, who runs Car Chicks and also
Right.
has Crank It Media. She's been around to all the events. She's usually there at the nostalgia events and Funny Car Chaos and whatnot. And she put this site together for me. It's dragracereference.com, and I've been working
Okay.
on uploading results to that site and trying to get that up and running so that people have a place to go and they can kind of reference these things if somebody's interested in the past or interested in learning about drivers that they maybe aren't really too familiar with, or drivers that had a short time frame. And that's where my curiosity on a lot of the stat collecting came from. Was you think of a driver, just anybody in general, say Eddie Hill. Well, when was his first race and when was his last race? A lot of times these drivers kind of fade off into oblivion, and you never really
Yeah.
know what or why or when did they stop racing, or what was their last result, when's the last time they came and showed up. So that's kind of another driving factor to catalog and log all this stuff, to be able to put that all into one place. So if somebody's trying to research it, they've got a place to do it, kind of like a drag racing encyclopedia, similar to what you're doing, not necessarily as focused on the times and speeds part of it, more on the results part of it, round wins, races attended,
Right.
things along those lines.
That's fantastic because we've started Danny White before he passed, RIP. He started putting the details in the notes section. Now Rob
Right.
McCabe, who's on tonight, has continued on with that. But
Mhm.
it honestly has never been a focus of ours. I mean, it's always been
Correct.
about how quick did they go, where they went, and there's we have so much work to do, over the. But I
Oh, yeah.
love that you're doing it. And one of the things I did want to do, and wouldn't take much probably for the right person, but I want to build a Draglist app, right? Where you go on your phone. I've been at the races. People ask me something about, hey, when did Jenkins competition do whatever? And I'm like, well, I'm going on Draglist and seeing it in this tiny, tiny font. I need a
Right.
big old app where I just put the guy's name in and I can hear or I can see everything. One of these days we'll build it.
No, I
Um,
agree. That's where I'm at too. That's kind of my thought behind it, is being able to just pick a name or pick a team or pick a crew chief and being able to see their results, kind of like an instantaneous media guide. And if
right.
you've ever been on racingreference.com or .info, I believe it is, for the NASCAR results, I mean, you can click on Richard Petty all the way down to Gober Sosby, from the top to the bottom, and get every race that they ran, even if it was a dirt race in 1952, and their results and where they finished and where they qualified. And I wish that there was a site that I was out there for drag racing that you could do the same, and that's what I'm trying to put together.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to see it. I do you have it up yet?
It is up, dragracereference.com.
Awesome. I'm gonna go check it out as soon as we get off. So let's go to John again and see if any of our folks from the chat have any final thoughts. Or John, from you for Dave.
Yeah, so Allison Alexander posted, she said, David, great seeing you on TV, hearing you talk about what you love and know so much about. And she's absolutely correct. And Rick Osborne said, Jim told us he still has videos that he has completed, but he isn't making any more. And Jim is a great guy that made quite a few videos to preserve the past.
He did.
And we are caught up on the chat board for the moment.
Thank you, John. And yeah, Jim Amos is amazing. He's even did one we used to have back in the early O's. We had this nostalgic circuit called Classic Thunder that I started doing a little PR for him. Next thing you know, I was part of the crew and a great partner of mine down there. And I put out a number of races, and they were great. And he came down and did one, and I've got it here somewhere. I got to pull that out. That's coming up here too. Well, I'll have to check with Jim, but it's amazing. It's one of the he went around and interviewed all the racers, and this is like '02 when the funny car reunion kicked off, and at Englishtown and things like that. It was all that early nostalgia era, which
Okay.
was just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But well, let me say, so before we let you go, Dave, do you have any folks you want to give a shout out to say hello, or some folks who helped you out? Anything, or mom and dad, whatever you want to do, take it away.
Yeah, well, hello to everybody that's watching. If you tuned in to see what I had to say, thank you. I appreciate it. Always love and appreciate the support. Couldn't be possible without all of you. Hi to my favorite niece, who said she was going to be watching and probably isn't. So we'll see if she is or not. I'll see if I get a text from that. And just anybody else that tunes in. By all means, check out the YouTube channel. Check out the website. Check out my Facebook page. It's just my name. It's publicly available, so the videos that I post and share are there to be seen for everybody, because I try and bring the past to life. A lot of the stuff happened before I was born, so my line is always I didn't live it, so I have to learn it, and I sure love sharing it. So everybody, thank you again. I really appreciate it. And if you love drag racing in general, please tune in.
Awesome, that's fantastic. So Dave, we'll get with you after and find out those exact, like the YouTube channel. What's that called? If folks wanted to just pop over there, what do you call it?
It's just my name. It's just Dave W on YouTube. I think you could search it there. The actual channel acronym, I believe, is DE31168. So
Okay.
you've got that that you could put in to actually access it, and there's all kind of motorsports content on there, and you might even see some of the inside the NHRA shows that my buddy Darren and I did for a couple of years there. as a race recap of the NHRA events. He's really one
Awesome.
of the ones that pushed me into getting back into going on and doing doing shows like this and getting involved. And um, big shout out to Darren too, if he's still watching. I know he was the first comment. That's American Hot Rod Entertainment. He commented on there, and if he's still on there, Darren, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you.
I'm sure he is. Well, let me tell you, as an announcer, as a hack announcer myself, let me tell you, you have a great voice for it. You have a great presence, a great voice for it. You could do this all night long, man. So,
Oh,
and you
thank
got
you. I appreciate
you
that.
know about it, right? That's the thing that separates a lot of. I've heard a lot of people with great voices that don't really always know what they're. This is years ago. Nobody that we know. That's everybody kind of in our current scene. You know, they know what they're doing, but you got to know what you're talking about, and then you got to be able to present it in an understandable way. And I think you could rock this, man. So looking forward to checking out all your channels. Looking forward to meeting you one of these days in person. Until then, this has been fun. Dave, thanks so much for coming on. Have a great new year, and good luck racing. And we'll see you down the road sometime. And I will be checking you out online and
Thank
chatting
you.
some. All right,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Weslowski, Dave W. Adios, sir.
Thank you.
Let's say farewell to Dave, and then we're going to bring in John for this week's JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. John, take it away.
Thanks, VP. My pick for Racer of the Week is Billy Masiello from Shelton, Connecticut. Billy was recommended to me by our friend and the founder of the East Coast Fuelers, Jim Cummings. Thanks, Jim. Billy's front engine dragster is the latest piece in his long career in Comp Eliminator, and he is a distinguished NHRA official as well. His dragster has a 215-inch wheelbase. The engine is 394 cubic inches. Billy has gone 694 with a little nitrous. Billy started racing in 1969 with a front engine dragster. He has always raced a dragster. He mostly ran comp at local tracks like Dover, Island, and Lebanon Valley. You could run comp 3 times a week back then. They would sometimes get 16 cars at Island on a Saturday night. After 2 front engine dragsters, Billy finally got a rear engine dragster, his first of 3. He still ran comp, but started to bracket race as well. They had a lot of good luck bracket racing, winning a few high dollar events at that time. He won Super Chevy in 1988. Around 2001, he got the urge to build another front engine dragster and had Frank and Scott Parks build his current car. Billy loves this car, and by far it is his favorite. He told me he's going to finish his career as a comp racer and also race with his East Coast Fueler friends. Billy wants to thank his wife, Kathy. She has been with him from the beginning, and he could not and would not do it without her. He also thanks his son, BJ. He is always there to help him. Billy said he started working for NHRA in 2018 just for fun, and it has turned into another passion for him. Well, Billy, we're lucky to have you with us. Your racing and your hard work in NHRA is outstanding. We wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. You know, a few weeks ago, I did a JB's Take about my grandfather, Lee McClendon, the musician. Well, last week, out of the blue, a gentleman by the name of Kevin Coffey got in touch with me about him. I only have 4 pictures of Mac, and to my amazement, after chatting with Kevin and us getting to know each other, he sent me a couple of dozen images that he has collected on Mac. Posters advertising his gigs and newspaper clippings containing his poems and editorials that he composed after he retired from full-time pro music. He played all over the country with several big bands, and he had a solid reputation as a band leader and virtuoso multi-instrumentalist. His writings were done in the 1940s. I read and saved them all. This was far more information than I've ever had about my grandfather. He never connected with me. I understand. His departure from Galveston was somewhat welcome. And from what I know about his divorce from my grandmother, He was reluctant to return after 30 plus years, but my mother made him come back so his grandchildren could meet him. Well, we met him and he left. By that time, he had a wife and kids in California, and we were not important to him at all. I never got to know him until Kevin sent all these images to me. Thank you, Kevin. For us to meet was karma, and I'm grateful. I now know a lot more about Mac. He had a great career, and he passed on his musical ability to me, even though neither of us knew it. But now I know. Thanks, Mac. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way for us to spend an hour on a Monday night together. Have a great 2025, y'all. We'll see you next time. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Awesome stuff as always. It's great to find that stuff. It's it's priceless, and I'm glad you did. Let's go on and talk about upcoming guests. I know Miss K's been working hard. We were chatting before the show, but we don't have them lined up yet. A lot of people, a lot of exciting people we're talking to. But we will get that lined up and we'll make an announcement this week. And so we can fill up the rest of January and then we'll go on to Feb, and on we go. Let's talk about one member of those we lost this weekend. On the 9th of January, we lost Arnie Swenson, the famous fuel funny car match racer out of New Jersey, racing under the Swenson and Lanny team. It was always Swenson and Lanny. Great guys, but they often would pick like they were great match racers. So they would always take like what was hot and name their car. So, when there's a Clint Eastwood movie came out called Magnum Force, next thing you know, there was the Magnum Force Pontiac Astra racing at Englishtown against all the other top racers there. Always put on a great show, always ran very competitively. And a great guy that everybody knew and loved. Arnie Swenson, passing away on the 9th of January. Farewell, sir. I don't have any additional names to share, and I don't mind that at all. John, before we do a final wrap, any thoughts from you, sir, on the show, or anything else you'd like to chat about?
Well, yes, it was absolutely wonderful having Dave Weslowski with us tonight. He is an outstanding gentleman, and his knowledge of the sport, I was enthralled with what I could hear. My computer is an old jalopy, and it keeps breaking up. If I go to YouTube, the Zoom program starts breaking up on me. But I got through it, and I'm looking forward to getting that iMac in here so that I can hear everything and say everything. And I want to thank Billy Masiello for showing up. And I can't
Yes.
tell you, you mentioned Danny. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to send Danny a message, and I went, "Oh well," but Danny was here tonight. He was listening, and he'll always be with us on the show, and he's with us in spirit. So
You
God
bet.
bless you, Danny and Gina, and until we meet again some fine day.
You bet. Thank you, John. I do. I think about him every day because I come across his Draglist entries every day, and he would be so proud of Rob McCabe, who was on tonight, who's
Oh, Rob
helping.
is here. Yeah, Rob showed up. He was on the chat board tonight.
Yep, and he's doing a fantastic job, and he's got big shoes to fill, but he's knocking it out of the park. And of course, Miss K had taken great care of us, in the manner to which we have become accustomed, with our dear friends in the past, Barb Santucci, Bud, Mr. Drag News DeBoer, formerly in that role. Miss K is just bringing a new freshness, and she's just amazing. So anyway, well, let's go ahead and do a wrap. I do want to thank Dave Weslowski for coming on. Super fun. I can't wait to see his YouTube channel. I can't wait to see his new drag racing reference site. Very exciting. John Bachman, my brother. The Mac's on the way. I'm shipping it tomorrow, and we're sending a new computer down, and we'll see how that bad boy looks. He'll be looking like a movie star here pretty soon, I think. Kate Thurkelson, thank you so much. and Rob McCabe, who is on tonight, and also Steve Clemetti, who has over the years shared his great lists of data, his own website, which he updates every single year at a minimum, maybe twice a year. It's fantastic. You can find it from the front page of Draglist right down in the middle. And of course, thanks forever to the big man, Danny White. He's as John says, we think about him every day. Also want to thank Jeff Gilder of Zeus Digital Marketing, Racers Reunion, and Wingding Media. He comes to mind as I encountered all these files that we did, not all of them probably, because we go back to 2010, but a heck of a lot of them I have found on my hard drive, and I'm going to start putting them up here. And I also found a bunch of great stuff that's out there on audio files that we did at the races. Me talking to my buddy Jack Red, who's on here. Some stuff we recorded while we were going up and down the road. I've got race reports from my brother Tim when he was covering nostalgia events for me out at the races. And it's all audio, but it's MP3s, which doesn't natively go on YouTube, but I understand there's some people who can help me convert it. So lots of good stuff coming. Look, stay tuned right here at this Bat channel where we're going to start putting some great stuff up. Folks, click the like and the share button. Let your friends know that we had Dave out here tonight, and we have a new star or a heavy stalwart that keeps the sport going every single week. And of course, please do subscribe to the channel wherever that button is. I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at Zoom. So get a subscription in there. Make sure you don't miss anything. Check in on draglist.com every day to see what's new. And finally, I hope your new year is going great. We'll see you next Monday night. And we'll indicate during the week who that's going to be joining us. So until then, on behalf of John, Kay, Dave, everybody, have a fabulous week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.